Hello and welcome back to Down the Track. We've taken a little bit of a break from cricket after the IPL, PSL and all of that, but we are back. A lot of cricket to look forward to in the next couple of days. We will be focusing on the India-Australia series in this podcast. Of course, as usual, Musti and me will be going over the preview and the ideal 11 for the India-Australia series. Exciting series to look forward to. Both solid teams, some good cricket, some feisty cricket expected. Your thoughts, Musti, initially?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be exciting. They're starting off with the one days, a bit unusual. Sometimes it's the tests or the T20s, but they're going with the one days first. So it's going to be really exciting. I think two very good teams, some big players playing. It's going to be a lot of fun. And I think there's some good news. They're allowing, I think, 30 to 40% capacity for crowds to come in. Yeah. So I think that's big news. For the first time, we might see like crowds in a cricket, like proper crowds in a cricket game.
So after a while, obviously.
After a while, yeah. Like, I mean, we saw the team owners and stuff in the IPL, but there's just a few there. Like over here, you're going to have like proper crowds coming in. And the Australian grounds are huge, right? So 30 to 40%, that's quite a lot of people. I know it's not just a few. So I think that's going to be exciting, especially for the players. Because yes, they're up for every international game, but when you have crowd, it does make a difference, especially for the big players themselves. They want that, like. So I think that's very exciting to look forward to. Two big teams, and I think this is going to be. This is a series everyone's going to look onto, because this rivalry, India-Australia rivalry, has taken a lot of last few years has heated up. I think they've been very competitive. We saw in the last time India toured a very close test series and even a good limited overs tour. So I think these two big rivals is going to be interesting, and we're not going to see Virat Kohli for much of the test series. So this is the time for him to shine. I think he's going to lead his boys and try to win this series, especially starting with the one days.
Yeah, and you can see he's really riled up the Aussies. Every Aussie is probably talking about Virat Kohli. You saw Stoinis talk about him. You saw Labuschagne, I think, talk about him briefly. But just he does that. I mean, he brings out that kind of an aura about him that all the opponents obviously have to plan for him, talk about him, and he just brings that out in other teams. So probably my player to watch out for. Not a relatively ordinary IPL compared to his high standards. So something to really just lift it up a notch and really prove that he is a class act that we all know that he is.
Yeah, and now he has lesser time to make an impact because he's not here for the full tour. And no, I mean, there's a lot of opinion about him not going to be there, and there's a lot of talk. India's 100% going to miss him. He's the Test captain. He's their best batsman. So 100% they're going to miss him. There's no doubt about that. Yeah. But I think for him himself, it's a huge decision. It's not an easy decision to take. Yes, it is straightforward. Like, I mean, family first for him, but it's not that easy. He's so passionate about this team. He's very passionate about Test cricket itself. So that's his, to win another Test series in Australia against like the likes with Smith and Warner there. I think for him it will mean a lot. He won't be there, but he'll try to start at least start off with some momentum going in the one days and T20s, and then he's there for the first test. So I think he has a shorter time to make an impact, but he'll definitely want to make an impact straight away.
Absolutely, 100%. I think in terms of the talking, I think a lot of talking for sure, but unfortunately because of the bio bubble and the rules that it becomes.
I think that's the main thing is the quarantine issue. Like if it wasn't that, and rightly so, Australia have a strict quarantine issue rule that you have to stay for 2 weeks. So I mean, because of that, it makes it difficult for travel. So if he's going to leave, he's going to miss more than one test for sure. So that I think if this wasn't the issue, he could have gone and come back as well for the third test. So
it's all good. I mean, yes, it's looking forward to Virat Kohli just as a general. One of the other players that Indian team will surely miss is champion white ball cricketer Rohit Sharma. It's going to be odd to not see him open the innings, kind of come up in front. He's been such an amazing kind of tour, and it's just been amazing for them. So
arguably he's been over the last couple of years, he's been arguably the best white ball batsman going out there, especially in the opening spot. I mean, you can of course argue this, but if you saw his World Cup 500s and since he's opened the batting, he scored like a couple of double hundreds as well. He's been unbelievable no matter what the conditions are. In white ball cricket, Rohit Sharma is probably the best batsman going around. India is definitely going to miss him. But I have a question for you. I don't understand. Like, I mean, there's a lot of talk and everything about the IPL, but I understand that, in IPL, it's a different thing. Your franchise is franchise owned. There's a different, it's a different complex. But if he's playing IPL, shouldn't he be fit enough for the limited overs and the test leg?
I think so. I think so.
And
I don't know.
if he's not, which is the, I think he's not 100% fit. To be honest with you, I think he has a hamstring, and that is a very delicate situation. But if that was the case, he shouldn't have played the rest of the IPL games. Do
I
you agree?
agree. Yeah, the last couple of games he should have really not played that games. Even if he was 70% fit, it's not like they. I mean, of
Yeah.
course they will miss him because he's an amazing cricketer. But I think that. I think you should put country first, and then kind of if he it's hard to say. Of course, he probably felt that he was good enough at 70% to be part of that team. Um,
But the
it is
but the
what it
thing is, in
is.
that, even if you don't look at the country and IPL, so I agree with you 100%. I felt like they should have looked at the longer picture. But even in general, if you just look at it, if you're not 100% fit, then especially with hamstring, what's the best thing for hamstring? You need rest and rehab.
Yeah,
So no matter what the situation, you need to get that done, and then because that will help you further on in your career. Like, what if like made it worse, like by
yeah,
playing those
yeah,
games? What if,
yeah.
what if it could have been more threatening than just a few games? So, but now potentially it could be a whole tour he's missing out because he's ruled out of the first two tests as well. That was the latest news from today.
Okay.
So based on that, he might play two the last two tests, or he's gonna miss the whole tour. So I just don't feel that was worth it at the end. Yes, it's not our call or anything like that. But if you look at it from perspective, there's a huge gray area there
Yeah,
concerning his injury, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of talk about it because
yeah. I mean, because
he's a incredible white ball player, and you'll want him in tours like this. And one more point, like yes, he's probably not proven himself as much in the test compared to the one day, but in Virat Kohli's absence, if you have a name like Rohit Sharma in the team, it does ease the pressure a bit.
agreed, 100%, and they will definitely miss him, no doubt about it. And I mean, it is what it is in terms of what the decision was behind the scenes and everything.
Yeah,
But I mean, we have to kind of the Indian team will have to play with what they have. It's not like there's a lack of talent. There's a
true.
lot of talent available, and it's probably time for some of the other guys to really step it up. Like the likes of Mayank Agarwal, who probably gets a chance. Manish Pandey will probably get a chance. These guys to really. Cement their place in the 11 and make it a selector's headache, when Rohit Sharma is back. So that's always a good sign when something like this happens. So I'm trying to take the positives out of it, I think. But I agree 100%. I think that he will be hugely missed in white ball cricket, especially even in Test match, like you said, after Virat's departure. So the second Test, as you said, if he's ruled out for the second as well, that would mean
Yeah.
that there's probably no Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli as second Test match. So that's going to be a little bit of a miss. Uh,
Yeah, I mean,
Lots of cricket after that.
if he missed the whole IPL and then he missed the tour, there's not much you can do. He's injured. He's
Right.
injured. But the
Yeah.
fact that he came back, he played like 3 or 4 games,
Yeah.
and then he went back and tried to do the rehab. I think because with a hamstring, it's a very sensitive issue. So like if you're not fully fit and you play, it does risk. Like
Yeah.
hopefully it's not as bad as it could have been, but it's still a risk. So I think that risk should have been avoided, in my opinion.
I agree. I agree. I mean, it remains to be seen what happens. What was the discussion behind the scenes?
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of talk about that for sure.
Yeah, I think that kind of. Anything else about the preview that you have? Any other important pointers?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at it from the Australian
Of
perspective,
course. Yes.
like from their perspective, I think they'll be ready to go. I think they had a decent World Cup last year, but now with Smith Warner fully back, I think they'll be looking to up their one-day game. I think
Yep.
Warner will be a big player to watch out for, especially in the limited overs. He can, start off with like a blazing start and like put the
Start
pressure
picking
on.
up form towards the end of the IPL as well, so he'll be
Yeah.
happy with that.
So if he can, take you off to like 80 for no loss and stuff like that, it'll put a lot of pressure on India. And then you have the likes of Smith, and even Stoinis is in good form. So in the back end, he'll hit some runs as well. So I think Australia are looking good. Their bowling lineup again. Fantastic, but I'll be interested to see how they manage that because I think they'll want the likes of Hazelwood, Cummins, and Stark fit for the Test series as well. And we know fast, especially Stark and fast bowlers in general have an issue with injuries. So
Yeah.
I don't know if they'll play every limited overs game in this tour.
Yeah, I think that's going to be an interesting point, especially maybe they'll play the three ODIs, then rest them for the T20s, and then bring them back in the test matches or something of the sort. So it'll be
Yeah.
interesting, I think. But they have some backup. But of course, Cummins, Hazelwood, and Stark are probably the champion bowlers for Australia. So that'll be fun to see. Some interesting permutations and combinations in terms of the previews, in terms of the ideal 11s.
Yeah.
Both obviously want to bring up their solid 11s, but there'll probably be a couple of things that both the team managements will have to think about in terms of if you want to play KL up top, or if you want to play Mayank Agarwal up top and bring KL in the middle order. From Australian perspective, if you wanna bring in Agar, then you might have to leave one of Maxwell and Labuschagne. So there's some discussion to be made about that. Let's kind of just go over our ideal 11, and we'll see what we get.
Yeah, for sure. We'll start off with the India one.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I had two different combinations here, but I'm just going to the latter one. In the beginning, I had Rahul opening straight away because of the IPL he had, and like, he's been in amazing form and everything. But then I just had to, just check the combinations. I felt like even Agarwal is in really good form, and I think when Rohit comes back, you can't play all four openers, right? So if you can adjust one in the middle order, I think that will be useful. A player like Rahul, like I think he can adjust. So I'm trying to see him in the middle order. So I'd probably go with Shikhar Dhawan and Agarwal as my openers. One down Virat Kohli. I'll go two down Rahul. Three down I'll go Iyer. And then at number 6, I'll have Hardik Pandya. And then I'll have my bowlers, Jadeja. I think he can chip in with the bat as well.
Yeah.
Then I'll have Shami, Chahal, Bumrah, and I'll go Saini as my 11th.
Yep, I think that's fair. When you said Bumrah, for a second I went bold because of the IPL. Bumrah bold. I was like, hold on a second.
Yeah,
but yeah, I think that's a fair team. I think Saini has proved, and he's pacey. He's a solid kind of backup bowler for the likes of Shami and Bumrah as a third fast bowler. And
yeah.
Chahal has proved again and again that he's a classy leg spinner. Jaddu as with that extra fifth bowling option. The only problem that we also discussed before the pod as well, because the only problem is that they have stuck with five bowlers if Hardik can't bowl, right? So these are the five
Yes.
bowlers. So if someone does get tonked around a little bit, we don't really have a backup, the Indian team. And this is something that's been a little bit strange because we're so used to some of the batsmen chipping into the bowlers. We've seen the likes of Sehwag, Raina, Yuvraj, Sachin, Dada, all these guys back in the day always used to chip in with the ball. Literally none of the top six really. I mean, if you leave Hardik Pandya, none of the top five even remotely bowl. You remember there used to be a time when Rohit Sharma and Shikhar Dhawan also used to like chip in with the ball, but that's completely gone. I mean, Virat also, I've seen him has a funny little bit funny little way of bowling, but he does bowl. But none of these guys really bowl regularly to kind of stake a claim of that sixth bowler. So Hardik will need to step up if needed. He hasn't bowled at all in the IPL, so that's going to be interesting to see if he does.
I think,
And
yeah. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
no, I think it's gonna be that's gonna be that's gonna be the most important thing for them. And the only other thing, of course, is if you really don't want to mess with KL Rahul and you want to just keep him as an opener, then you'll have to play Pandey in the middle order. I think that, and then you probably play Iyer at 4, Pandey at 5, and then continue the 6 through 11.
Yeah, I mean, that's the
So
thing. If you want to go like slot for slot, then you play Pandey. He's a middle order batsman, so you
yeah,
can play. He slots right in there. But
right,
I just feel that because India have a variety of openers, they have a lot of openers. I think one of them, like Rahul, can play in the middle order. So I just want to see him because of the form wise. I think Agarwal is also in really good form.
yeah,
So in that sense, I just want to see this combination in the beginning. But you're right, because that's like a Manish Pandey fits into the middle. He's a middle order batsman. So if
right.
this doesn't work, then ideally you could do that as well. But I think you made an excellent point when it came to bowlers, batsmen chipping in with the ball. Like you mentioned, all these great players, they all chipped in with the ball, and that
Yeah,
takes the pressure off the main bowlers as well. It gives them a
yeah,
breather as well, and it also gives the captain an option. He's not that stressed, like, oh, who should I bowl, this and that. He can like make up overs. So I think that's a amazing point when it comes to the batsman not chipping in with the ball. And also Hardik Pandya, yes, it's a big problem because he's your all-rounder, and you need him. I mean, right now he's at a really good age and everything, so expecting him to be properly fit and bowl those overs and thing, I don't know what his like. I mean, he had a bad injury in Asia Cup. Since then, he's been a delicate situation. But then again, like, I would recommend him to get proper rehab and stuff, because he could be a very important player going to ICC tournaments for India in limited overs.
absolutely. I think at least 4 or 5 overs from an extra bowler is absolutely essential. And if Hardik can't do it, someone else will probably need to.
Yeah.
Uh, Whoever it is, it needs to happen quickly. I
Yeah,
think.
I don't really see any bowling options here. You had Kedar Jadhav was the last one, I
That
think.
one, yeah.
So I
Mm.
don't see like any, unless someone pulls a rabbit out of the hat. Yeah, you're right. I
Someone like
agree
a
with that.
someone like a Washington Sundar probably, but he's a more I mean, he's been good, but he's not been consistent
But
enough
with
to
the
stay
bat, yeah,
playing.
with the bat, we don't
Yeah.
know how much he's going to perform. You could,
So
but I think Saini had he looks decent as well. I think he has good pace as well. So let's see how he
yeah.
goes first.
So some yeah, some small important points for them for the think tank Ravi Shastri and Virat Kohli to kind of think about. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be fun. I'll be intrigued to see in the next couple of days which starting 11 does start. But I think we've kind of covered the kind of uh, combinations that are possible, I guess.
Yeah,
So I
yeah.
think moving on to the Australian team again, a couple of points in terms of just who they would like to play and who they might have to unfortunately drop. Your ideal 11, ideal team.
Yes, I mean, yeah. So I think Fitch and Warner, that's a given. Opening the batting, then I would go Smith one down. So then I was actually thinking about should I go batting heavy or bowling heavy? But you made a good point as well before that Stoinis and Maxwell can play the fifth bowler.
Yeah,
So probably then you can go Labuschagne at 4, Maxwell at 5, Stoinis at 6, then Carey at 7. That stacks your batting, and then you have Cummins, Zampa, and Stark, Hazelwood, your 4 bowlers.
yeah,
But if that doesn't work, then like we said, like in the next game, they have an option of playing Ashton Agar in the place of either Labuschagne or Maxwell. He can give you 10 overs and he can contribute with the
chip in with
bat
the
as
bat.
well. Yeah,
Yeah, I think pretty straightforward for them. But the good thing that they have at least two bowlers, extra bowlers in Maxwell and Stoinis, and they can bring in Agar if they want to.
yeah,
So they have that extra bowling option. That's obviously a tad bit better than the problem that maybe India is struggling with. So
yeah,
unless of course Hardik brings a surprise and bowls 5 overs every game, you don't know that's gonna
yeah.
happen. Great. If it doesn't happen though, that'll be a problem.
Yeah,
So
yeah. They just have to decide Australia if they want to go a bit more batting heavy. If that's the case, then they do have all rounders. Like Stoinis is a decent bowler, so him
yeah.
and Maxwell they can chip in. So I think they can go that way, but it's a bit more risky if they in that way, like bowling wise. But then if it doesn't work out, then they still have extra bowler. They can play Ashton Agar instead. So
Yeah, I think that and Alex Carey is an amazing batsman as well. I mean, he can really chip
incredible.
in at he can really chip in at 5, and you can have just Maxwell just come in the end to
Yeah,
really
easily.
tonk it if needed. Just if
Yeah.
that's kind of what the way it is. So
Yeah, I think Carey, like if you want to play with the right hand, left hand combination, you can push him up in the order as well. And
yeah,
we've seen in the World Cup as well, he counter attacks beautifully. So
right.
even if there's some early wickets, you can send him in there and he can, I think, hold the fort, steady the ship, and take it from there. So I think he's going to be a key batsman.
I think so. I think bringing him at number 5, kind of just starting off that finisher role, and then you can have the likes of Stoinis and Maxwell just kind of contribute with in the last few overs just to really hit it out of the park and just up the ante in terms of that run rate. So I think pretty straightforward in terms of the Australian 11. It's just a question of if they want to play Ashton Agar or if they want to play go batting heavy and get with Maxwell and Labuschagne. So
Yeah, and as the series goes on, maybe they might just
a
rest
couple
their
of changes
bowlers.
here and
Yeah,
there.
rest
Yeah.
their bowlers and rotate the bowlers. Maybe they don't want to play all 3 main fast bowlers in every game, so they might just drop one and play him like that. They might just rotate it a bit just to keep the bowlers fit.
Yeah, and they have a couple of other guys in the bank in the waiting room as well who are pretty decent and coming up their ranks as well. So some solid options for them to consider. I think wraps it up. But who is the player in each team that you're looking out for?
I think for one days it's a bit straightforward. Virat Kohli, he's not going to be there in the second leg of the tour, so I just want to watch him bat.
Yeah,
And like you said, he had a quiet IPL from his standards, and like it's been a while since we've seen Kohli dominate like properly. So I would really it'd be interesting to see how he plays. So I'll want to watch out for him. And from Australia, I think there's a lot of good options. I think I'll just go with Stoinis. I think with both bat and ball, he can provide a lot for Australia. And if he performs, it'll tilt it in their favor. I think in Australia's favor because he gives you something with in all 3 departments. So if he can be at like peak form, it'll help them a lot.
yeah. I think Hardik Pandya and Mitchell Stark for me.
Hardik
From
Pandya and Mitchell Stark.
I think Stark can give them those early wickets because then you know the Indian middle order crises, not necessarily crises per se, but I just feel like if the India is still depends on the top three. I think it's very very important that one of those three goes on to score big runs. But if Stark can give them those early breakthroughs quick every game, they gives Australia the upper hand. And Hardik Pandya, man, I mean, I'm just such a big fan of him as a cricketer. He's just such a clean hitter of the ball. I need him to come back. It's been a while since we've seen him in Indian colors. Come back, really take uh, the his position by storm and really get those runs, finish those games off, and show us that we have a finisher kind of ready for us. Like, I mean, I don't doubt his talent for a second. It's just a matter of kind of being a little bit more consistent. Unfortunately, injuries have not helped him, but just a little bit more consistent in terms of finishing. I'm looking forward to that for
Yeah,
India.
he's definitely the X factor. He's the guy who can take a 300 score to 350, and
Exactly.
even in a chase, if you require like 7, 8 and over, he's the guy who can do that. So, I think
Exactly.
in the one day, especially, he need to be a bit more patient and a bit more smart in his shot selection. But if he can provide those clean hits that he did in the IPL, that'll help India a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. Finally, who are you tipping? India or Australia?
For the one day series,
Yep.
I think it's going to be close. It'll go to the last game, and I think last game India will be chasing around 320, and Virat Kohli to score 100 and finish it off in the last over.
Nice, nice. I like that. I like that. Even
But
I'm
yeah,
going with
I
anything.
don't think it's going to be easy series for India. Even for, of course, Australia, they already know India's capability in the white ball format. But I think it'll be a very good series.
Yeah, I think in 2-1 to India. I think that's fair.
Yeah, 2-1 to India. I'm going
Yep.
2-1 to
I think
India.
that wraps it up. Looking forward to the games, and of course, as usual, we'll be bringing you the reviews of every game as well. So, take care. Looking forward to the series, and we'll catch you right after.
For sure, man. Take care. Can't wait for the first one day.
Yep.
Uh,
Looking forward.
Take care, man.